Good day and welcome to the Ministry of Tourism special interview program, Tourism One-on-One, where we explore topical issues affecting the tourism sector as we continue to recover from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. I'm Kingsley Roberts, your host, and with me today is Minister of Tourism, the Honorable Edmund Bartlett. Good to have you, Minister Bartlett.
Thank you, Kingsley.
Today we continue our discussion on how the tourism sector has been rebounding from the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Minister Bartlett, how important is resilience building to the growth of tourism globally?
Right. Well, tourism, as you know, is vulnerable to many shocks, exogenous and endogenous shocks. It's susceptible to climate events. We have them in the Caribbean, hurricanes every year. Seismic events, earthquakes, and so on, to terrorism. We see that in the Middle East and in other areas of the world, even in the US with the 9/11 incident. It is susceptible to epidemics and health events, pandemics, as we saw in 2020. It is also susceptible to economic disruptions. And one is even looming now. And it's susceptible also to political disruption. We saw what we call the Arab Springs that created huge difficulties that destinations like Egypt have not quite recovered from even now. So we know that we have to build capacity to track these disruptions. To mitigate against it, to manage it when it comes, to recover, and to recover quickly, and then to thrive. Now, that whole process is what builds resilience. So we know that tourism also has that capacity to bounce back fast. So we are highly resilient, and we spend time and resources in helping to build the capacity. We established in Jamaica the Global Tourism Resilience and Crisis Management Center. And I want to make the point that that's the first international or local construct that has been established anywhere in the world to focus directly on building resilience. Resilience has not been a popular word around until recently, of course. And I think that Jamaica has led the way in terms of that discourse in the world. Now we have 6 centers established in the world already. We have one in Kenya. We have one in Canada. We have one in Florida, in the United States. We have one in London at Beaumont University. We have one in Jordan, along with ours here. So that's 6. Now we have others ready to be established at George Washington University in DC. We have the Sofia University in Bulgaria that is on. We have Botswana, South Africa, and Ghana.
So it's a global framework.
So it is an absolutely global framework, and we hope to have at the end of this year at least 10 centers across the world. Now, this offers an opportunity for us to exchange ideas, to bring young people with ideas, to talk about resilience, to talk about how to build capacity to manage these disruptions. And then there is a big area that we have not focused on, which when war comes, as we're having in Ukraine, there's a question of migration and climate migration. And these are new and exciting areas that we have to delve into as we help to build capacity of people to relate to these kind of changes, these disruptions. And it's a two-way street. It's the people who have to migrate, who have to deal with psychosocial and other issues, as well as the people who are receiving them, who also have psychosocial responses to relate to, among others. So building resilience is going to be a major part of the platforms for building back economies And the disruptions are going to be with us. We just not yet out of the pandemic, and we're hearing about monkeypox, and we're hearing about all kinds of other little things. So as you go on, more and more of that will happen. As you're trying to perhaps get out of the Ukraine war, you hear of other countries gearing up and, making sounds that are ominous in terms of, possible conflicts with others. So we are going to continue to have this. So the whole process of making sure that there is academic arrangements to study, to research, and to make tools, to find new tools to deal with it. Then the whole question of how to manage comes from the need to know. And to know, we need barometers. We need something that measures the level of disruption, one, and also to measure the level of resilience. In other words, the level of your ability to respond and not be eviscerated by these disruptions. So we think that Jamaica has started something that has a lot of legs, and that is going to become a major preoccupation in the future of the world. Alongside sustainability, resilience is going to provide that second leg on which the stool of prosperity and stability will rest.
The Ministry of Tourism has developed a blue ocean strategy to guide the future development of the sector. So please explain that strategy for us.
Well, the blue ocean strategy essentially is born out of a perspective of being exceptional, being different, being unique, to operate in not a competitive field, but a comparative field, where you are establishing yourself as having a unique proposition, a unique market proposition, so that what you are offering, nobody else is offering. So the other side of that is the red ocean, which is the bloody stream where everybody's competing and, knocking off each other's head and so on to get after the same things. We are saying we're out of that ocean. We want to establish that Jamaica is a unique offering with a special customer proposition that puts us aside from everybody else. Now, that requires a lot of work. It requires also the building of ideas and the ability to transform those ideas into material goods and services that have a value and that we can price. So we are spending this year in the budget, for example, $31 million to farm ideas, to go out and to find young people with new ideas, fresh ideas as to what kind of products can we have. Not just to invent, and this is a point that I wanted to make very clear, is that the Blue Ocean strategy does not operate solely on invention. In other words, we're not necessarily looking for brand new things. We're looking for people who can add value to things. So it's the value added that makes the difference. So yes, you may not be inventors, but you have ideas that could add a dimension to the experiences that the visitor has. And when people come to Jamaica, in fact, when I go in the market, the first thing they ask me is what's new, what's different? And all of that is simply asking me how innovative I am. It's asking me how creative I am and how that innovation and that creativity is able to separate me from the rest of the market. And so the concept then of a Blue Ocean strategy is about that. And we've been building out a whole series of policy initiatives in that area. One of them is the destination assurance strategy. And what that does is to provide an end-to-end security measure for visitors. So health security, national security. When you breathe, your air is clean and you are assured of that. When you turn the tap and you get water, it's nice, good, pure water that you could drink immediately. These are the kinds of destination assurances that makes the promise that you give in the market of having a safe, secure, and seamless vacation a reality. And so we're spending time on that. The tourist board has to drive a market arrangements that, again, we go for new markets. We're going to excite the new world of travelers as to what our destination is.
So how is that going? Tapping into new markets?
Tapping into new market. Well, so far we're into the Middle East, and that's exciting. So far we are starting to sell Jamaica there. Emirates Holidays is selling Jamaica. The Emirates Airlines is making arrangements with code sharing to ensure that tourists who want to get into Jamaica can move through the various gateways in the United States that they serve and interline with airlines that actually come to Jamaica like JetBlue and so on. So we are seeing that happening. We're going into India. India is an exciting area. Jamaica has a lot of affinities with India. And one of the things that we're going after in India is the wedding market. It's a romance market. I mean, Indian weddings are huge and strong, and they last a long time.
They travel in large groups.
And they're in large groups.
Oh.
So the United States continues to be our oyster. And that's the richest market in the world. There's so much more that we can do with it, and we are doing. The Canadian market is there also. It beckons us. And our good old UK market, which is strong, and the rest of Europe. So whilst we are not losing focus on our traditional markets and making sure that they continue to work for us, we recognize that there are changes that are taking place in the geopolitical systems as well as the whole global economic arrangements. We are seeing where the centers of economic power are shifting, and where the technology that is now available to us, this whole digital technology, is causing a huge shift in terms of spheres of influence and where access to power as well as to resources are. So we are also seeing in that mix a demographic shift, because the younger people, millennials, are now beginning to take over properly the leadership of the world. But we are also seeing the generation Zs and others that are coming up who are techie savvy and who are drivers of this new knowledge age that we are in. And they are going to be the new wealthy. The whole change in terms of how wealth is derived, it has to be understood that companies and large companies are going to give way in this new digital age to individuals. We saw it with Elon Musk. In 3 years, his assets are greater than Australia. The Internet of Things and, the virtual and augmented realities. Now they talk about the metaverse and all of that. Nanotechnology is going to play a huge role in terms of how efficiencies are going to be multiplied. And production levels through 3D technology is going to multiply, exponentially. So we are going to find that all of these developments are going to have implications for movement of people, changes in geographical, positioning of power, and so on and so forth. So we have to respond to that, and our market intelligence has now got to be up to date. So my mission is to position our tourism in Jamaica to understand these things, to be able to respond to them, and to be on top of them, and then to soar.
Great. That brings us to the end of our program. Thanks for joining us today, Minister Bartlett.
Thank you so much, Kingsley.
It was a pleasure having you back on our program. Thanks to our viewers for tuning in. Take care and see you soon.